Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? 11:01 on Edmonton Sports Talk. Thank you very much for being here today. Of course, if you're watching over on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Duck Dad's already over there and says, Jaden Reed, more like Jaden resetting my account to 0 to match his stat line. Yeah, we were texting about that last night. It was like he didn't even play in the football game. That was crazy. I did not see that one coming. We did see the Josh Jacobs touchdowns coming. We didn't get the Jordan Love INT, but we did hit the EST parlay last night. So hopefully you were rolling with us on the EST parlay. And if you were, you cashed a little bit last night. So that's excellent. Huss is going to join me. Jake is already locked and loaded, ready to go. So when Huss hops on, we will bring in Jake as well, and we will recap what was a Thursday nighter that certainly lived up to the hype between the Packers and the Detroit Lions. Absolutely tremendous football game, and lots to break down. Dan Campbell, he's going to kill me. I mean, it's just the bottom line. Like, I love him, but he's going to kill me. I mean, I'm going to be watching the playoffs, and he's going to go for it, 4th and 1 on their own 9 when they're up by 7, and I'm gonna die. I mean, from a heart attack. It was a wild ride last night, so we'll get into that. We will keep an eye on what's happening with Jacob Trouba. I don't know if anything's moved in the last little while. It's a little bit of a busy place here today at the Edmonton Sports Talk offices. Maddie's having a little Christmas gathering, so not following along as closely as I usually would be between shows to random NFL or NHL trade news, but we'll keep tabs on that. We'll probably have something move on that by or right around noon today as well. But maybe the guys can help me deal with my man Dan Campbell, because what a monster. Like, what a freak. Let's bring in Jake. Let's bring in Huss. It's best bets. House callers coming up as well. Man, I mean, two fourth down touchdowns, but then going for it on your own 30 in such a tight football game and turn it over. And then I'm sitting there going like, okay, you're already in field goal range. Let's just kick it, play some defense, win the game. And he goes for it, and Goff trips, and I'm not even kidding. I almost fainted when he tripped. And then they pick up the first down, and it's like, genius call. I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle the roller coasters. It's going to kill me, man. I swear to God.
Your coach is a psychopath.
Yes.
Your coach is an absolute maniac. I've never seen anything like it. And listen, we've seen him be ultra aggressive before on 4th down. But for crying out loud, a couple of the chances that he took, the juice was not worth the squeeze yesterday.
Right? It's just, there's no reason to do that in that spot.
You handed the Packers essentially a touchdown with that going for it on the 29-yard line. You're leading the game. I mean, literally 2-3 minutes later, you're down 4. I didn't get that one, and you texted me afterwards. I mean, at some point there has to be some discretion with this plan to go for it on 4th down. And then at the end of the game, I mean, that was the craziest thing I've seen. I mean, 4th down, there's 38 seconds left?
38 seconds left. 4th down. Green Bay has no timeouts.
They hand the ball off. Fall down. I mean, that was so close to disaster for the Lions. Listen, 12-1, good on them, amazing team. But as I tweeted last night, these insane calls, if he operates in the playoffs against the best of the best in the NFL, the way he operated last night against a really good Green Bay team, I think this comes back to bite them in the ass. That was absolutely.
And like I said, last year it did. Like, they were up 14 against San Francisco and in field goal range, and decided they were going to go for it. Now that one was a straight up drop, but still, San Francisco gets the ball, drives the field in the NFC Championship game, and gets a touchdown. And that was the turning point in that game. And then they had a chance still in that game to kick a game-tying field goal. And they went for it on 4th and 1 and turned it over. So, like, if he didn't learn his lesson in the NFC Championship last year, I mean, I'm just gonna have to live with it. And we had Herm Edwards on this morning, and he goes, people just need to realize Detroit's like a 4th down team. Like, they went 5 for 6 on 4th down last night, but like, it's just the one you didn't get ended up in your end zone shortly after. And the other one could have been an absolute disaster. We're not ignoring you, Jake. Let's bring Jake in. Jake, welcome back from Florida. I don't know if you can help me in this. I'm on tilt every time with this guy, and I love him. I think he's done so much, and I do like him. But you gotta pick your spots a little bit better, man.
Yeah, listen. Here's my first world problem to kick things off. I was on a Porter flight yesterday. And the Porter flight to Florida was great. We had Wi-Fi on the plane, worked the whole way through. We basically watched Red Zone the entire flight. Yesterday, Porter flight, Wi-Fi is not working. Not going to work for the entire flight. I didn't watch a second of that football game. So I'm not going to come on here and act like I saw everything that broke down. Unfortunately, it was a travel day for me, and I missed out. But I will say, Dusty, I think it's one of those things where you're just going to have to live and die with your guy. Like, this is who Dan Campbell has proven to be. And as much as, it can work out, and we've seen it work out last night, it can also come back to bite him in the ass like it did, like you said, in the NFC Championship game. So, I don't know. I don't know if you want him to really shy away from what he's comfortable doing, because you could end up in a situation where you're like, well, why didn't he go for it?
Jake, I guarantee you we'll never end up in that situation. I don't think I'll ever be like, why didn't Dan Campbell go for it? Did you guys see? I retweeted it last night. When he was playing Price is Right, and he had the wheel, and it was at 95, and he's like, Drew, I'm gonna spin. Like, he's insane. It's like, I get it. I had a bunch of people texting me last night, like, live by the sword, die by the sword, and I get it. But I'm okay living and dying by the sword when you're on it's 4th and goal from the 3. Like, go at it, go after it. But like, on your own 29 in a 1-score game, that's not living. That's just being stupid. Like that, I just don't get that. I don't understand.
Here's a question. Here's one for you guys. How good of a hand does Dan Campbell need in blackjack not to hit? 20?
He hits on 19. Yeah, he hits on 17 for sure.
Oh yeah, he hits on 19. He hits on 19. Like, yes, 100%. Dan Campbell hits on 19. God, it's just. I mean, so Dan Campbell aside, and Jake, you said you didn't watch the games. Hustle out him this quickly. Like, that was a great football game to watch last night. Like, Packers Lions lived up to the hype. Tough loss for the Pack once again. Detroit finds a way in the end this time, but I mean, playoff game between those two teams would be insane. Like, that would be a phenomenal football game.
I really only got a chance to see the second half. I was hosting, emceeing the Hockey Helps the Homeless event. By the way, I met your buddy Pat.
Yeah, Patty texted me that picture of you yesterday. Yeah, well, Patty, Mr. Brewhouse all across the country. Yeah.
Is he a Brewhouse guy?
He's a Brewhouse guy. Yeah, he's a Brewhouse guy, and they've got a great partnership with Hockey Helps the Homeless. So that's why he was out there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, great time. We had a Jet game on that I was trying to pay attention to. And the one thing I do have to ask, having not seen the first half hour, how the hell did Jordan Love only have 3 completions for like 30-some yards in the first half?
Man, I was watching the game, and I didn't even realize what was going on. I looked at the score. I was like, he's 3 of 7 for 37 yards? Like, and Josh Jacobs was doing okay. I mean, I think he was when I looked at that moment, I think Jacobs was already at like 49 yards, a touchdown there. Yeah, I mean, that was weird. And Jaden Reed being invisible in the football game was really weird. That one blew me away. I don't know what was going on with that guy. I didn't even think he was playing. Like, I honestly didn't think he was playing until I saw him pop on the field in the third quarter.
I started him in 2 leagues, and It's just like a nightmare right before playoffs, and you're just like, I'm fighting for a playoff spot, probably in both of those leagues, actually, and it's not a great way to start your week.
No.
Duck Dad over in the chat says, Dan Campbell definitely doubles down on a soft 21 card down. Just like, you know what? Let's go after it. So Detroit Lions find a way to win. We did say that the 3.5 on the Green Bay Packers was too tough not to get on, and they end up covering that. So, what a way to start the week, boys. I don't smoke, but I had 3 cigarettes last night before I went to sleep.
Well, luckily the hockey teams got wins last night.
Yeah, that was a big one, for the Jets. Adam Lowry, OT hero.
That one big time. It was. Listen, they have that great start, but then you lose 4 in a row, and you're worried about it snowballing to something bigger. And the fact of the matter was, you're playing Buffalo, who, of course, was up 4-0 against Colorado and blew that 2 nights ago. You knew they were going to be in an ornery mood, and they'd lost 4 in a row as well. And I mean, I've never seen a schedule like this before. We're going to try not to talk too much about or make excuses, but 15 straight games in different cities. Like a 6-game road trip, back for 1, out for 4, back for 1, and then out again for 3. I mean, it's nuts. And this is another 3 and 4. So they needed it. They just needed to get the result. And yeah, listen, Josh Morrissey stepped up in a huge way. He played 30 minutes last night. Logan Stanley got a fighting major and a misconduct. So they were down to 5D. They killed a bunch of penalties. So it was nice to get that result. And obviously, I saw you tweeting, Zach is back. A little Zach Hyman action last night. That's good. I mean, I think everyone loves Zach Hyman, and it had been sort of weird that he had such a slow start. But, much like the Oilers, I think you get him going again, and this team will see the results. But they looked very lethal offensively last night.
Absolutely snake-bitten before his injury, and then he comes back from injury and buries 2. Connor McDavid with his 10th career 4-assist game last night. Draisaitl had a couple. Like, the big boys were going, and we talk, and this could be really good for anybody who rides with us on our AST parlays, but the Oilers' offense is clicking again. Like, they are scored. They've in their last 14 wins, they've scored at least 4 goals in 12 of them. Like, the offense has come back around for sure. We hit the AST parlay last night. Really a no sweater. We had it by the end of the second, as long as they didn't blow the wind. McDavid over 1.5 points, finished with 4, and then Nugent Bouchard both with an assist, and they got those taken care of last night. So we've actually hit our last 2 EST parlays, which have been nice. Anything else from the National Hockey League yesterday, Huss, that jumped off the page for him?
For everyone bitching that Tampa had too many guys on Team Canada, they made a pretty nice statement yesterday. Yeah. Like, nice early 6-0 lead, 8-1 win. And Nashville, I mean, what can we say about this Nashville team? Like, we said yesterday, like, wait a second, they're playing on the second end of back-to-backs. Why the hell are they minus 133 or 135 favorites in Montreal? That was, and by the way, my guy Patrick Laine is so back. Speaking of being back, those 2 goals that Laine scored, I hate the Habs. I always have. I'm going to have to be like a pseudo sort of Habs fan. Really want this guy to get his career going again. And, man, 2 games, 2 goals at home in Montreal. They're going to absolutely love this guy. And while that team is not going to be doing much, it's going to be fun to watch him. So that was nice. Big win for the Senators over the Red Wings. That's one of those games where both of those teams needed it so badly. And the one thing that didn't go our way, as far as the parlay went, was the Avalanche. But good on the Hurricanes. Much like the Jets, they needed a result. They had a really tough opponent coming in at home, and Carolina gets it done. So overall, pretty fun night in the National Hockey League. A lot going on. I was obviously more focused in on the Jets and then the Oilers, but gives us lots to talk about heading into the weekend.
Well, and the other thing we have to talk about, and this would be a heavy NFL show, and we'll get to that. Jake, you got Pat's touchdown score. We'll probably get to that when we get to our house callers.
I'll shoot him a message.
Yeah, fire him a text. He said he was pretty fired up about it. But I do want to talk about Jacob Trouba just quickly, Huss. Looks like something's coming down the pipe here with Trouba. The latest, I mean, we've seen a bunch of different things today. Drager about an hour ago said Columbus, Detroit, and Anaheim are among a crop of teams circling around Trouba, and the Rangers says it's complicated. Also adds that there's nothing going on between the Rangers and Ottawa. Zilch, which had been linked, I think, by a few people around the New York Rangers there. Trouba has a 15-team no-trade clause, and apparently one of the interesting situations here is a bunch of the teams that are interested in him are on that, and the Rangers are essentially being like, if you don't agree to go to one of these places, we're going to waive you and they're going to claim you and then we'll get something done otherwise. So, I mean, they've been struggling recently. They've been a mess recently. He's their captain and they're working this drastically to move him. You saw where he came from. Your thoughts on a very interesting situation right now with the Rangers?
It's, honestly, it's kind of sad. And just for folks that maybe don't understand how this all worked out. He sort of forced his way to go to New York. And, we in Winnipeg were like, oh, this jerk, he just wants to be in the big city, all that. I mean, there actually was some legitimate family reasons. His wife's brilliant. She's a doctor. And she was doing her residency at a hospital in New York City. So he desperately wanted to go there. When he signed his deal, the residency was for, I don't know what it is, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. When he signed that deal, he got a full no move for the first, I believe, 6 years of the deal. And then it went to the 15 team. Now, the reason the no move was in, because that was the duration of when she was in. Once the 15 team kicked in, she would be finished. Obviously, they would be a little bit more flexible. Well, with COVID, it pushed back a year of that residency, but it didn't push back a year of the contract. So now all of a sudden you're in this year where she's still doing her thing and he's no longer has the full no move. And that's why they were trying to move him in the summer. And he's like, well, I can't really do that. This is very important to me and my family. I believe they've got, a child as well. So it's sort of a mess. I mean, listen, from the outside looking in, it's a brutal look on how they're treating the captain of their team. And I do wonder this, Drury was really cutthroat. He did this to Barclay Goodrow last year.
Yep.
Where he didn't want to go or whatever. So they just put him on waivers. And next thing you know, he's on the worst team in the National Hockey League. So I really do wonder what this does to the reputation of the Rangers as far as how they handle their players. And does this damage their ability to sign free agents in the future? I mean, they've got so many things going for them. This is like the way this will be received by players and agents is not going to be possible. That being said, right now for hockey terms, they're going to get a bunch of cap space, I guess, and they're going to move on from him. Someone's going to get still a very serviceable player, albeit maybe overpaid for what he's doing right now on the ice. But I can't remember a situation like this with such a high-profile player making this sort of money that can still play, but getting kind of worked the way he is by Chris. Chris Berry's the most cutthroat GM in the league, I think.
The way that this is all sort of coming across is that he's the issue with the Rangers. He's why they suck. And they have to move on from their captain, and they have to, if you don't accept this, we're going to waive you. And I don't know. It's not a good look. We'll see how it sorts itself out. We should know more in the next hour or so with if the talk about him going on waivers was actually legitimate. So we'll keep tabs on that. All right. Should we get to the week in the National Football League? We got some best bets to get to.
Just before we do that, we do have 5 hockey games tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, we're on that right now. So
actually 6 games tonight. Those Rangers are in action against the Penguins. But Jake, what's the Leaf report right now going on? Home to the Caps, who have been awesome so far. This is actually a great matchup. 17-6-2 for Washington, 16-7-2 for the Leafs. Certainly, I would say the marquee game tonight, along with Dallas at the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, listen, there's another solid week for the Leafs here, picking up a couple more wins. That Nashville game was looking really, really ugly in the first 2 periods and didn't know what was going to happen. All of a sudden, Matthews is back with Marner to start the third. They scored in 30 seconds. And then I got friends texting me like, hey, might be time to sprinkle Matthews for the Rocket Richard, because he's only 10 goals off the pace now. And that's kind of what happens here, right? When the team's winning, it's everyone's pretty happy. And, yeah, we'll have to see. If they just it's tough. Like, you listed all the teams that won yesterday, and basically everyone you said is from the Atlantic. And it's like, I just want this team to run away with the division one time. Like, I know there's a long season left. And, we talked about those Rangers. I think as it stands right now, if the playoffs were to start today, that's who the Leafs would be up against. But It's never going to be easy to win this division. So picking up.
Have they ever won it?
Not in the Matthews era. I mean, probably not in the when did they switch to
the Atlantic? Yeah, I'm not sure that they've ever done that. They're always.
I'm going to look that
like
up right now while you guys are talking. I'm going to get it. I'm going to find out when the last time was.
Yeah. Anyways, it looks like Matthews and Marner are going to be back together tonight. I believe the Leafs are a favorite. Yeah, it was minus 144 this morning. Now up to minus 147. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where goaltending's looked really solid. Either guy, Solars or Woll. They're battling some injuries right now. You look at that top six, and Holmberg's kind of that sixth guy that's slotted in, but no Max Domi, no Bobby McMahon, and Pacioretty's been out a good chunk here. So they can get a bit healthier. I think this team will look a lot different. And, I'm pretty excited to see, what's to come. And just got to keep winning hockey games, like I said, because the teams on your tail are not letting their foot off the gas. Like ever since Florida beat us as in the Leafs.
Yeah, we know.
Leafs, a couple weeks ago, or maybe that was last week. They've kind of been rolling. Tampa had that huge win last night, so it's no time to take your foot off the gas if you're the Leafs. You just got to keep it going here, and hopefully you can get some depth scoring. They've managed to get a lot out of their top guys, but the depth scoring is where they've struggled a bit here this season.
The Leafs, I looked it up. Well, last time they won their division. Now they did finish first in the North in the weird year where it was all
not counting that.
But prior to that, you got to go back to 1999-2000, and they finished first in the Northeast. And on that team that year, Jonas Höglund had 29 goals, and Sergei Berezin had 26. You know what? I always despised the Leafs, but I had some time for Berezin and Höglund. I didn't mind those guys.
Wasn't Berezin a former Flame?
Did he play on the Flames? I know Jonas Höglund was a Hab. No, Berezin was Leafs, Coyotes. He was a Hab too. I remember I was excited when they got him. Then Hawks, Capitals, and that was it. He only played 8 years in the league, and then that was it.
For the record, I can't say a lot on those guys. I was 2 years old the last time they won a division. So
not a real fan. Not a real fan.
Yeah, fake fan. Sorry, guys.
All right, so what do you like, Huss?
Hey, for what it's worth, I do have a 3-gamer in, and don't forget, you can take care of the 25% profit boost. I figured I'd get something in before I leave the country, so you got to make those bets in before you go over the border.
Wait. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're going to the game, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to the game, so I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. I just wanted to ask you about the Leafs because I liked them tonight. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't miss anything. I'm taking Toronto. I'm taking Vegas at home as a plus money underdog against the Dallas Stars, who just lost to the Kings. Vegas at plus 103. I like that number. And we'll top it off with the Canucks, minus 122, taking on Columbus, second into back-to-backs. Plus 395. And then obviously you got the with the 25% boost, it pushes it basically close to 500.
Excellent. That's the picture in the National Hockey League tonight. Huss will have that one put together for you. All right, let's slide over to the National Football League, boys. We will get to our house callers. Jake has texted Pat for a pick, so we'll get to that. We'll give you our 4 best bets each as we work our way through a little bit of a lighter slate this week with 6 teams on bye, so less to choose from. There were a few games that definitely jumped off the page for me, though, and I texted, is that little teaser I sent you, the ride with Dusty, is that up, Jake?
Yeah, exclusives, though, Dusty.
Oh, yeah, it would be an exclusive.
Combo cards on the show, but plus 350 right now in exclusives. I did have to shift a few of those lines that you sent. Dolphins to 1.5, and I think maybe that was the only one. Titans
that would have been the only one. The rest of them looked
Steelers both to win. Chargers plus 10.
Rest of them look good. Yeah, so that's already up. Ride with Dusty over in the Lock Shop Partner Parlay in the exclusives. Dolphins plus 1.5, Steelers money line, Bucks money line, Titans plus 3.5, and the Chargers plus 10.5 at plus 350. That was a little 6.5 point teaser that we put together on the Nielsen show this morning. Huss, best bet number 1 for the week, buddy. Where are you going?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go to the game that I will be attending, and I think it is clearly the best game of the early slate. I guess Browns Steelers might be one that I think we probably want to watch or talk about. Jameis obviously is you can't turn away no matter what's happening.
It's incredible, man. That pick 6 line was so good. I know you guys talked about it. So funny. Like he's the best.
praying for the Lord to deliver him from pick sixes. And I mean, that game, I guess we didn't talk to you afterwards. Like, that'll probably be forever. Jake will be talking about that as the quintessential Jameis Winston game.
Incredible.
I mean, how they didn't cover. I had Denver -6.5. I mean, I was worried they were going to kick a field goal at the end. And that, I mean, anyways, I needed that. I needed it big time, and I got it. But anyways, I'm going to go to this Atlanta-Minnesota game. And I expect the Vikings to win this game. I also expect Kirk Cousins to be a hell of a lot better than he was last week. He basically lost that game on his own against the Chargers. The Chargers were terrible last week. They scored 10 points themselves. Cousins went full Jameis, served up a pick six, and then threw 3 more. And the last one was as bad of a throw as I've seen in the NFL in a long time. Like, so bad, there was legitimate conversation as to whether Penix was going to maybe be in the mix for a start this week. This is a huge game for Atlanta. They are tied with Tampa right now at 6-6. Tampa's got a much better schedule. The only thing going for Atlanta is that they've beaten Tampa twice and have the tiebreaker. But this is a special game for Cousins, going back to Minnesota where he was there for all those years. I think he'll certainly, I think, have a pretty good idea about what he's going to face with that defense, just being so familiar with the team. And I think that he'll be a heck of a lot better. Now, the other side of this is that the Vikings have been winning football games, but they've sort of been like the Chiefs for the last month. They've been winning, but they haven't been covering. It's been really close. 1-point win last week. To me, 5.5 is just too many points. So I am going to take the points with Atlanta. I do like the Vikings on the money line, but I'm imagining this to be a 23-20 game, a 27-24 game, or something like that. So I'm going to take the points and hope that we've got an exciting one at US Bank Stadium when I get down there on Sunday.
Jake, where are you going for your best bet, number one?
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest way, I got Falcons plus 5.5 on the card, and for a lot of the reasons that Huss said. It's one of those games. Kirk Cousins is coming in off, 3 pretty bad games. I think they're on a 3-game skid right now in the Falcons. They really handling the division no problem, and all of a sudden you look up and them and the Bucs both 6-6. This is a bit of a happiness hedge for me. I do have the Bucs plus 280 to make the playoffs, and we talked about it a few weeks ago. We were like, are the Bucs really going to manage to win the division, especially with the Falcons having the head-to-head tiebreaker? Well, you look at the strength of schedule, and the Bucs do have a slightly better schedule down the stretch. If they win the games they're supposed to win, it's going to be tight. So one of those games where I kind of agree with Huss. I do think the Vikings find a way to win. I just don't know if it's going to be by 6 or more. So I'm on the Falcons plus 5.5, and I think this stretch for the NFC South is going to be great, like right down to the final game. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Falcons as well.
I stayed away from that game, but I think you guys both make legitimate cases for it if we want to look at a parlay a little bit later on. I guess I did not learn my lesson, or maybe I'm just straight up fading Doug Peterson and the Jags. But I'm going back to the Titans after we had an absolutely horrible read on the Titans-Commanders game last week. I mean, I apologize to everybody. Like, Huss and I were both on it. We both loved it. Like, it was my favorite play of the week last week. And I love Jaden Daniels, so I wasn't too heartbroken because I had him in fantasy and he hung like 30. But still, I mean, extremely frustrated with the Titans last week. But I'm going back. I mean, no Trevor Lawrence. Mac Jones in the 3 games that he did play earlier in the season essentially didn't do anything for this team. Will Levis, since returning from that little injury, I'm not going to say he's been great, but he's been good. And now he gets to go against a Jag secondary that sucks. I mean, I'm actually streaming Levis in a must-win fantasy situation this week, trying to keep a playoff hope alive, simply because I have Jaden Daniels and he's off. So I tried to claim Russell Wilson, and somebody else claimed Russell Wilson first, and I was just like, screw it. I'm gonna claim Levis. I think there's a 20+. Actually, I think Levis has scored like 22 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. So I was like, screw it, I'll ride with Levis. And then actually what I did do was I picked up, Westbrook Akine, his go-to wide receiver. He's got like 6 touchdowns in his last 7 games. So I'm riding on the Levis Akine stack to keep my playoff hopes alive in the Juan Rincon Football League. But I mean, Trevor Lawrence comes back. You were already dead anyway. Now you lose him again. And I know the Titans only have 3 wins, but I really liked them this week. I have them in on that teaser where I flipped it around the other way to plus 3.5. Maybe I didn't learn my lesson, but I'm going back to the Titans minus 3.5 against Jacksonville. That'll be my first of 4 best bets this week. Huss, where are you going with number 2?
Number 2, let's go to. Well, you know what? I was a little iffy on this number before, but it's come down to a place that I'm pretty comfortable with. I'm going to take the Bills laying 3.5 against the Rams. You know, I've been on the Rams before, and, you know, we've seen them over the last couple weeks, struggle to beat the Saints and some others. Like, to me, these just teams are in different stratuses right now. Everything is going the Bills' way right now. Josh Allen's the MVP. Going down to L.A., I'm sure his new fiance, isn't his fiance an actress? She's probably got a nice little spot down in L.A. I'm sure friends and family want to show off for the new in-laws and everything like that. And just keep this thing rolling right now. Before it was 4.5, and I thought that was a little much. Would love to get it to 3. I mean, if you do want to, I mean, not that this will be kosher for what we're doing here, but it's minus 159 at 2.5. So I mean, it's a big difference. But listen, just the way the Bills are going on, how important these wins are going to be. They're 1 game back at Kansas City. It feels like the Chiefs are on the verge of losing every week, and then they don't. They realize that, you know, they have to keep pace right now and put themselves in a situation where the Chiefs have to win on Sunday night against the Chargers to stay in that number 1 seed. Because I tell you what, if the Bills can get the 1 seed, have the benefit of that week off while the other teams beat the hell out of each other, I think they are going to be a really tough out in the AFC playoffs. Not that the Chiefs didn't do it last year, going in there and winning, but we've seen this before. Sometimes you got to take tough losses before you can get over the mountain. And I'm just so impressed with what Buffalo's doing right now. The conditions will be a little different this week than what they played in last week against the Niners. But the way Josh Allen's playing right now and the kind of the up and down nature of the Rams, I'm going to take Buffalo and I'll lay the 3.5.
Jake, game number 2.
Might be the fastest show we ever do.
Oh my God! Are you going Bills too?
Minus 3.5 on my card as well. I'm interested
to
see what else
Huss
had. We did not chat at all. One of those lines though, I did kind of sniff it out as like a fishy 3.5 was a little surprising to me. And Huss says it's come down a bit, which, you know, might be concerning as well. But I think it's the exact same spot as when the Bills played the Seahawks. It was a 3.5 point spread. You know, you kind of look at it like, oh, like this will be interesting. Buffalo going to Seattle. You know, can they cover a number that they feel like they should cover? Well, guess what? The Bills won by 21 points in that game. Like, it was never a doubt. I think this is kind of a similar scenario where they're going west. You know, they're in a position where they just like they're rolling right now. 6-1 against the spread in their last 7. Their 1 against the spread loss was to a divisional opponent in the Dolphins. They still won that game. So yeah, one of those scenarios where I don't think travel is going to be an issue for these guys. They're in a great rhythm right now, and I'm not too concerned about the number. I think if it was a little bit more, I'd be a bit concerned, but 3.5 is something I think the Bills can handle no problem. So yeah, me and Huss on the first 2 same picks here early on.
That's right, Jake.
All right, I'm going, and obviously I'll be looking for Huss's take on this one, but I am going to take the Chargers plus the 4 points. I'm assuming the Chiefs will win by 3 or less in this football game. So I will take the Chiefs. I'll take the Chargers plus 4. Now, some interesting notes here. KC hasn't covered in 6 straight. Chargers have covered in 5 of 6 and have won 5 of their last 6. Huss, you did mention the Chargers did not look good last week. Still managed to find a way to get it done. I know Pacheco will continue to get ramped up here as well. And Ladd McConkey is banged up, but limited in practice. We'll see how that ends up panning out. I feel a lot better about this plus 4 if McConkey is good to go. It's been a very nice rookie season from him. But I'm just assuming we'll see another tight Kansas City victory. That's why I ended up taking the Chargers on that little teaser all the way up to 10.5. I feel really good about that. I don't feel as good about this at plus 4, but I mean, I feel like the Chargers are probably good enough to hang around and then be outdone in the final 3-4 minutes by Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'll take the 4 points. Huss, You're probably, I don't know, you're probably staying away from the Chiefs for our best bets, but what do you think about for this game?
It's, I remember that these two teams played earlier this year, actually, when I was in Montreal with Mayo and all the fellows, and watched that game with Feinberg, which was the ultimate
Chargers
psycho versus psycho match. And listen, I'm really impressed with what the Chargers have done. I think Jim Harbaugh has really instilled, a great foundation for this team moving forward. I think Justin Herbert's having a hell of a year right now. Their running game is limited right now with the injuries in their backfield. This McConkey's availability is absolutely crucial because he is very quickly turned into the most reliable guy there for Justin Herbert. And part of the reason why I think people were waiting another year before really buying in, even if they love Harbaugh and loved Herbert, was the fact that they had to cut Keenan Allen and cut Mike Williams and, Quentin Johnson, whatever his name is, and, Josh Palmer. These guys have not really turned into reliable go-to receivers yet. McConkey is that guy. So the fact that he's been limited but actually practicing, I think very good for the Chargers. But from the Chiefs side, I don't really know what to say. We spoke about this. I said that I felt dirty after the win last Friday, the way that it happened. And it rattled me. And it sounded like, the team's sort of been in a bit of shock with the way they've won these last two games, against Carolina and Oakland, or against Vegas. They get up for these divisional games. But the bottom line is the Chiefs have won 14 straight games by one score, like 14 straight one-score games. Now, that is the sign of a team that knows how to win, knows what it takes to get done. I'll be the first one to admit there's been some good fortune as well. Like the game against Denver, you need a block kick and you get it. Good on you for making that happen. This business last week was they let the Raiders right back in and they had the game and obviously made a mistake that ended up costing them. So, you're right. I don't have a lot of trust for the Chiefs. At some point, I am expecting this offense to wake up and them to actually put it together and have a great game and make a statement. But it's pretty hard to back that until you see it. So I will not be betting this game. I will be crossing my fingers that they find a way to get to 12-1, one way or the other. But I don't blame you or anybody for taking the Chargers +4 based on what we've seen this season and especially over the last few weeks.
All right,
did you guys see that tweet? You might have talked about it, but the guy was just like, I think every Chiefs game they should be -500 on the money line, but the spread should be -3 every single time because they win the game, but they don't.
I did not see that one. Points. That's good, actually. It makes sense.
It was so perfect.
It makes sense.
There's another one. There's not a team in the National Football League, the NCAA, or high school football that the Kansas City Chiefs can't beat by exactly 3 points.
I saw that one too. Yeah,
that's a good one too. Huss, where are you going for pick number 3?
Well, this one might surprise you guys because I'm about to take some points on a team that is absolute garbage. But you know what? So is their opponent this weekend. I bring you to MetLife Stadium. Noon start with the New Orleans Saints taking on Drew Lock and the New York Giants. Now, I don't blame people for not betting on this game just because it will force them to not have to watch a minute of it. Luckily, I'm going to be occupied at another game at the same point, so I won't be tempted to even watch this, although I will be checking the scores. Here's the first off, there's no reason to believe in the Giants. However, I actually didn't mind what we saw from Drew Lock at times in that game against the Cowboys.
But aren't they going back to DeVito though?
Is DeVito starting?
Well, I thought let me double check. Sorry, keep going. I'll double check on this. I thought I saw that yesterday.
Assuming that Drew Lock is starting. I've got some time for him because, from a personal level, it's a big opportunity for him to show that he's a very capable backup or maybe get in the mix for a starting gig somewhere on a team that is desperate for quarterback.
Drew Lock is starting. Is starting. Giants bypassed Tommy DeVito's clean health for a Drew Lock start. Okay, so I saw was he was going to be healthy, and they were thinking of going to him, but they are going to stick with Drew Lock. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlets. I mean, you know what you're getting from him, and it ain't much.
You realize what happens with this guy, right? Tommy Cutlets signs with the Tiger Cats in 3 years, never plays a game, and then retires. Like that's what happens with Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised. Listen, this Tyrone Tracy's running the football pretty well. Malik Neighbors is still a guy that is dangerous. And I love the way Drew Lock ran the football when he needed to, getting in for a couple touchdowns. This team's got to be playing for pride. And I still think Brian Daboll actually, like usually a team in the situation that they're in, you'd be like, okay, they're done, new coach. I'm not sure that happens. So in some ways they are playing for next year. But the reason why I'm going to take the Giants and the 5 points that we're getting on them right now is that the New Orleans Saints have been a completely different team when Taysom Hill's been healthy and in the lineup. I mean, he has changed their offense. He has had a couple massive fantasy games. And he, in a lot of ways, was the key. I mean, like, you can count on Alvin Kamara, and that's about it. So the fact that Hill is out, I think it is such a benefit for the Giants to be able to stay in this game, to keep the New Orleans offense off the field. Again, both of these teams stink, but if you're going to give me the Giants as a 5-point home dog against New Orleans that doesn't have the guy that has kind of been their catalyst offensively, I will take the point.
But, I mean,
don't feel
on
good
top of
about
this,
it.
us, like, even when they had him, they still sucked. Like,
yeah,
I know what you're saying, but they sucked.
We're
with
not
him,
talking
too.
about a playoff team that misses one guy, and now no, you're right. I mean, they were right down there. I watched some of that game last week against the Rams because I had it, and to me, it was just the Rams were sort of off, which was why they were down 6-0. I mean, a minute they got going. I mean, they put 3 touchdowns in the second half. They ended up covering the number, winning by 7. But I'm out on the Saints, and I'm out on the Giants too overall. But in this particular case, I could see them winning this football game. I could also see it being somewhat close at the end. I mean, if the Saints win by 14, I'll kick myself for it. But with all these other teams on the bye, it's some slimmer pickings for the pick. So I'm going to take some points with a home dog here with the Giants and Drew Lock.
Jake, do not tell us you are also on the Giants here, right?
Listen, as somebody who, responsibly likes to try to get a piece of all the games, I don't mind the pick, but it's not on my card. I don't even think I knew that game was being played this weekend. It's one of those games where you're just praying red zone doesn't have to cut to it too many times, and we'll be in a good spot. So, no, next pick, I'll go to this one. I don't know. I think I might be addicted to losing money fading the Eagles. But I'm going to take the Panthers plus 13.5. That's a lot of points. It's a lot of points. And I mean, I feel like they're still being a bit disrespected. Like the Panthers have played pretty good ball. I know the Chiefs, like we talked about, they play in 1-score games every single time around. But, they played the Bucs to a tight game. They had a chance to win that game last week. And I think their last 4 games, they've played to the 1-score games. I don't necessarily think they're going to play this one to a 1-score game, but 13.5 is still a lot of points. I believe they're on a 4-game against the spread win streak, given I think the Eagles are on the same win streak as well. But, you look at Hurts' numbers as a big favorite. He's 1-9 against the spread as a favorite of a full touchdown or more. So one of those situations where, I think the Eagles have been really impressive, but kind of a letdown spot. 13.5 is a big number. And I think Bryce Young has looked pretty solid over the last 4 weeks to the point where if you're the Panthers, you're like, are we going to roll back into next season with Bryce Young and try to build around him once again? Maybe.
Probably deserves that shot. Probably deserves that shot.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's not a bad place to be if you're the Panthers. You're going to get a high pick. You're probably going to end up taking, something to help Bryce Young, whether it's a receiver or an offensive lineman. But one of those situations, I just feel like it's a lot of points. I feel like the Panthers are still being slightly disrespected with the way they played over the last few weeks here.
I mean, if there was ever a time where a team was going to let down a little bit or take a foot off the gas, this is the spot. I mean, you're playing as a double-digit favorite at home. coming off a road win against the Baltimore Ravens that truly established yourself as a Super Bowl contender. As I said, I've kind of suspended myself from fading the Eagles because it has not gone well since they were 2-2. But I am completely with you in theory on this. And if you made me make a pick on this game, I would absolutely take the Carolina Panthers in the points.
All right, for my third pick, I am going to go against documentary boy Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to take the Dolphins minus 5.5 here. Their offense has been their offense has been excellent. Like, Aaron Rodgers can't possibly care anymore about football, right? Like, this season. Like, I'm not sure he cared at all, but he's got to care less now. Like,
he's too self-absorbed. He's too self-absorbed. I mean, this is all about him. Will the Enigma documentary, will it have them going to 3-10?
No.
Or 3-11? Like, will you have some special locker room footage of them losing again and Aaron having to deal with it all?
The Dolphins are going to outgun the Jets. The 5.5 I'm pretty comfortable with. The Jets are 2-8 against the spread in their last 10. Miami's covered in 4 of 5. They've won 3 of their last 4. The Jets were shut out in the second half of that game last week against Seattle. And in the first half, they just got lucky. Like, there was a botched punt that gave them great field position, and then they had a special teams return touchdown. Like, their offense didn't really do anything last week. So why are they going to do anything this week to keep pace with what Tua and the Miami Dolphins can probably do here? So, and this is an interesting one. I made note of this last night. The Dolphins were 8-point home favorites against Vegas, who I think is a similar caliber team to what the Jets have in reality been this year. They were 8-point home favorites against Vegas, won by 15, and they were 7.5-point favorites against New England, and they won by 19. And this is the same script here. The Jets are not a good football team. They're favored by 5.5. I think they're going to win by double digits. So I will take the Miami Dolphins as my third pick at minus 5.5.
All right. Well, I guess that's to me for the final pick. And, it's funny. I was considering that Miami game, especially now that it's 5.5. There was a couple of other games. I was thinking about Pittsburgh at 6.5. But again, you just never know what you're going to get from Jameis and with Cleveland.
I know.
And those division games in the AFC North traditionally, Jake, what was the number? It was like 60-some% on the underdog in those divisional games we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when these two teams played.
Yeah, 28-16 in the last 2 years since 2021 against the spread. So
yeah. So anyways, I'm going to stay away from that game. I've settled on Tampa at minus 6.5. I would love this to be a little lower, but it's 6.5 minus 109. That's actually come down from minus 111 just when I originally put it in. So here's the thing. Tampa is tied for the lead, but they do need this extra game because of the tiebreaker. I think their offense is rolling. Baker's having another awesome season. Bucky Irving has been a spark in that Bucs offense that I don't think they expected, but they're really benefiting from it. He had 157 and a touchdown last week.
Huge game last week. Dealing with a bit of a hip issue, but looks like he'll be good to go.
And listen, there's no let up for Tampa. They lost 4 in a row. They were tight. They were in all those close games against the Chiefs and the Bills and the 49ers. Now, but they've kind of come back from it, and now it's time to keep that foot on the gas, and I think they'll have it. As far as the Raiders go, I mean, you look at the standings after that devastating loss last week. They're 2-10, tied with the Giants and the Jags for the least amount of wins in the league. And I think they gave their best shot last week against KC, and I don't think we're going to be seeing as motivated a team in a mid-afternoon game against Tampa than they were in a standalone game against their arch rivals, the Chiefs, trying to spoil their season. So it's a bigger number, but I think that Bucs offense is going to eat. I'll lay the 6.5 with Tampa.
Jake, pick number 4. Where are you going, buddy?
yeah, I don't mind that one with Tampa. Obviously, I talked about them a little earlier here. I've been supporting them to go and make the playoffs. So another win here would be great. I am going to the Browns-Steelers game, but I'm taking the other side. I'm taking the Browns at plus 6.5. I mean, Jameis, what an inspiring game against the Broncos the other night. He does everything, man. It's incredible. Like some of those plays, that throw he had to Judy was incredible. And then some of those pick sixes, like he's just, I don't know how he does it. It's a little concerning, obviously. But one of those things where, like Huss mentioned, in the AFC North, like the underdogs find a way to cover. Like that's just what happens. Like I said, 28-16 against the spread since 2021, underdogs in the AFC North games. Tomlin, as a favorite, has not been as good. I talk about this all the time. And I want to believe I have Tomlin figured out. Last week I was on the Steelers at +3. They win outright against the Bengals. This week I'm switching off them. Tomlin is 10-25 against the spread since 2017 as a favorite of 4 or more points. Like, this is just, guys, the definition of playing in one-score games and winning football games. We've seen that. He just continues to be above 500 no matter what it is. So I'm going to take the Browns, +6.5. I know it's a bit of short rest, but under Stefanski, Browns are 8-3 against the spread on short rest. So not too concerned there. I think it's another tight AFC divisional game. I think the Steelers probably come out on top. But, even if it's a backdoor situation, it's not going to bother me one bit being on the Browns here.
All right, there we go. So we got Cleveland +6. I almost went with you on that one. I was tempted to ride with Jameis to keep it close. I mean, he sucked me in. He sucked me in. I want to see him keep it close and get some hilarious quote. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears +4 on the road against San Francisco. Like, San Fran has not just lost, like they've lost 3 in a row, but their last 2 they've been destroyed. Like, they've been absolutely crushed. They lost 38-10 again in Green Bay, and then they lost 35-10 in Buffalo. Now they've lost Christian McCaffrey. They've lost his handcuff. They're going to Garendo. The Niners aren't technically done, but they're done. You know what I mean? Like, that Niners group cannot have. Whereas the Bears are also done, but with the coaching change and Caleb Williams showing flashes, I feel like they're still engaged. I think the Bears are still like, this would be a huge win for us. Go to San Francisco's like, we don't care anymore. So from a motivation perspective, I like the Bears. And not only that, San Francisco played some good teams and got crushed. The Bears have lost 3 straight games to really good teams tight. Like, they played them very well. So I like Chicago +4 on the road in San Francisco. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a upset coming on the money line. But I'll throw the Bears +4 at San Fran into the mix, which gives us our 12 picks. What's the parlay look like? And then we'll get to the house callers. You guys are both on 2 games the same. I said you both kind of convinced me on Atlanta a little bit. What do you guys think? Do you want Atlanta and the Bills in there and then we pick one of my games, or what do you think?
The one thing I was going to say, we almost have every single game picked for Sunday.
Did we cover them all?
Seattle, Arizona was the only game we didn't hit on. So
such a tight game.
If you're looking to bet the slate this weekend, we've laid it out, and I don't think we were against each other. I mean, Huss said he liked Steelers, but it wasn't one of his picks, so I don't.
No,
think
we weren't head to head in any.
To be honest, the more you talk about it, you kind of. And part of the reason why it wasn't one of my picks is I didn't feel that strongly about it. And now listening to you guys talk about it, I'm actually glad I didn't put it in my picks, because I do think that. And I'm just thinking about those numbers. Those AFC North games are always tight. But yeah, I mean, if we want to throw the Falcons at +5.5 and the Bills at -3.5 in there, and then jump on one of your picks, I mean, we could go Miami -5.5.
I was just going to say, if I had to throw one of mine in there, it would be Miami. Breece Hall, I just looked at it, is listed as doubtful, so they might not even have him. I mean, we got to get on Miami, I think, here -5.5 for the parlay.
Jake, you good with that?
Yeah, I was just looking. The Bills line just moved a bit. Yeah, +630. Sorry, this thing just keeps moving on me here. +642.
All right,
with those 3. That's pretty juicy, boys.
Okay,
Dolphins -5.5, Falcons +5.5, Bills -3.5.
All right, and we got to move quick, but house callers. What do we got? Huss, who are you throwing in the mix for the touchdown this weekend?
You know what? I'm going to roll with Bucky Irving.
You son of a bitch. I was going to go back-to-back with Bucky Irving, but that's okay. You take
-125. -125. I like the number. And I think he gets in. So, give me Bucky Irving at -125.
Where are you going, Jake?
I've actually struggled here. I started really hot, and I've struggled here. I'm going to go a bit of a juicier number, but I'm going to go Devon Achane. The Jets have just been getting gashed on the ground. Buddy. And he's one of those guys who'll get touches not only on the ground, but they'll target him in the red zone as well. He had a one of the higher target rates over the last few weeks for running backs in the red zone. So, you just got to get in there once. Minus 161, a bit of juice, but I don't mind it. Devon H. I feel like a guy we haven't really added. Like, I don't know. Maybe
I don't know if he's come up.
Season, but I haven't heard his name a whole lot.
Yeah, I like it. Did Pat text you who he's got?
He never did. We'll have to come up to a consensus fourth. But who do you got?
Let me throw this one. Let me throw this one your way, Huss. We'll just give him. Yeah, actually, we'll just give him James Cook. He's going to say Jimmy Cook anyway, so I don't hate that. Huss, what do you think about Pacheco? What's the usage going to be like on Pacheco this weekend?
Well,
are we still worried about Kareem Hunt? Because I got other picks too, but Pacheco's plus 110. So go somewhere else.
I'm worried about Kareem Hunt in and around the goal line. Like, I'm not sure Pacheco's going to be getting any goal line touches. That's sort of Kareem's bread and butter. And there's so much heavy lifting in and around the goal line. And here's the other thing. I mean, I think the Chargers are pretty good up front. I mean, that's the Harbaugh's really focused in on that line. I would probably say wait a little bit before we get a full Pacheco game where he's getting 20, 25 touches and he's a little bit more in the mix in the red zone.
Well, then I'll go Nick Chubb plus 138. Let's get Jameis getting into position. Nick Chubb taking. I was either going Chubb or Drake London because wide receiver ones against Minnesota have had success this year, but let's roll with running backs here. Let's roll with running backs. I'll go Nick Chubb plus 138.
And we're giving Pat James
Cook.
Again.
I mean, that's who he's going to. We can give it to him or we can wait and he'll text it to us anyway. So, James Cook. And it goes in as Jimmy Cook, so make sure you put that in there. All right, that's going to do it for the Lock Shop today. Huss, I know you got to get going, but what is coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk? What are people going to get over there?
Well, we'll break down yesterday's game, talk about that. Jeff Hamilton's going to come on where the Bombers go from here. Now, the Buck Pierce is the head coach of BC, and Ted Gavaya is going to be the GM of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And good old Hacksaw is going to come on with the NFL Notebook. We'll hit all the big stories in the league heading into the weekend. And then pop by around 2:45 Winnipeg time and get in the marble race.
And Jake, welcome back, buddy. I know we didn't get into it too much, but welcome back from Florida. Did you win your match with Ange yesterday?
No. I did win the match, and then in the ninth hole, I kind of got cocky, and then he broke.
I saw the video on the. You said you were going to play straight up on the par 5 on 9. I saw that.
Yeah, he had a putt for eagle on 9.
Eagle putt,
and that's basically where it ended up.
That's a tough one.
He ended up making birdie, and I got a little too big for my britches there.
By the way, that Super 8 you guys stayed in was little. You're gonna need to step it up a little bit next time.
All right, that's gonna do it for the Lock Shop today. Best of luck in the NFL this weekend, everybody. Oil Stream coming up in less than 3 minutes right here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Winnipeg Sports Talk starting right away as well. For Huss and Jake, I am Dusty. We'll talk to you on Monday.
I'll see you.